I think that the things that we saw on the videotape, showed up from his college videotape. He's a very athletic guy. There aren't a lot of people in the country that are 250 pounds and are also 7-foot high jumpers. That part of it is really evident. He's young. He's developing. He's got a great work ethic. I'm excited about his potential. He's in that rookie process right now where there's a lot being thrown at him. It's a demanding position because you're involved in all three aspects of offense, blocking for the run, pass protection, and then being a receiver. And we're experimenting a little bit. I think that his athletic ability tells you that he can play in a lot of different areas of the field, that he can be a detached guy, he can be a tight end in a traditional sense, he can be in the slot, he can be a wing. So right now his head's probably swimming a bit because we've thrown a lot at him, but I think in the long run we will have exposed him to everything he could do during the season, so that should be good.
Who's we watch him out here, he really knows how to get up in high point of football. Who's the last tight end that you worked with that has that kind of vertical to be able to go up and grab a ball like you've seen him do?
Oh, I think there are a lot of tight ends around the league that can do that. He has unusual ability to leap, as testimony to his track background. But it's the timing of it. It's the ability to judge the football in the air. Some guys can do that better than others, and right now he's pretty good at that. But we have a lot of work to do. But the potential for him is exceptional, really good.
Hey Greg, could you speak on the brutality of the position of tight end right now? Gronkowski's always heard, Jimmy Graham, Dennis Pitta, Michael Finley.
Right.
Does Njoku know what he's in for?
I don't think any rookie knows what they're in for. It's kind of a golden age for the tight end in the game of football because teams are finding so many versatile athletes playing the position in college, and so you see more and more teams that play with multiple tight ends. So in answer to your question, the tight ends are playing a lot more snaps than they used to, so they take a bit more of a pounding over the course of the season. They're involved in blocking down the field. They're involved in pulling and trapping on linebackers and defensive ends. We have to block the defensive ends one-on-one, who are normally anywhere from 20 to 30 pounds heavier than us, and similar athletes. So I do think they take a beating. I think that's why more and more teams are carrying at least 4 on the 53-man roster. But the colleges are producing them. The spread offense is a throw-it-first offense, and there are a lot of players out there that are in the 6'4", 225-pound range coming out of high school that maybe were good basketball players and good track athletes, and they're becoming the tight ends. And by the time we get them, you can use them in so many ways. So they do take a beating. They're on the field a lot. They're involved in special teams a lot because they're big athletes who can run. So it's imperative that they be in shape. You see the guys right now. We have a lot of 250-pound guys that are in the single-digit body fat range, and that wasn't the case even 7 or 8 years ago. The bigger tight ends were heavier guys, but now a lot of them look like David and Randall and Seth. They can run and jump and get around the field.
What have you seen from Seth here in year 2? He's a guy that, as we watch him on the field, to us it seems like a noticeable difference. But
yeah.
What have you
I
seen?
think he's more confident. I think that he missed so much time last year with the hamstring issues that slowed his development a little bit. But he came to us with a real good sense of how to run routes, well above average hands, and an excellent knowledge of the game. The guys at Princeton did a terrific job. He came in here understanding conceptually how pass games work together, and you could plug him in multiple positions on a pass play, and he would know how to run all those routes. So most of his development, I think, in the off season was that he put on a little weight. He's noticeably stronger, he's faster, and he's healthier. And he continues to work hard technically. I think that his ability to run routes, catch the ball, leave his feet, catch the ball away from his body, he has a big catch radius. I think those things are showing up out here, and I'm pleased with what he's done in developing as a blocker from a technical and a footwork standpoint, and the proof will be, obviously when we put the pads on, but he's ahead of where he was a year ago. So I see Seth as a guy who's important to us and emerging just like Randall and David.
when we stand behind, like we can stand behind the goal line and you guys run the red zone drills, it feels like he would be a difficult guy to cover when he's coming straight at you.
Yeah.
He's so big and
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, he's 200 and on a given day 54, 56 pounds, and can run fast and has that background as a wide receiver and a slot guy. So he really understands how to position himself against defensive backs, and he's a matchup problem because at that weight, and with his height, that's difficult for the corners. His speed and his ability to change directions, his ability to leave his feet and control his body and catch the ball makes it more difficult if bigger guys are covering him. So our hope is that he will be a very effective guy, particularly in the scoring zone. No, you're fine.
The same true of David in terms of matchup potential?
Oh, absolutely. Certainly physically. We'll just have to see how quickly he can master some of the skills. And the field gets very small, gets very condensed down there, and so there has to be real precision on the receiver's part, and there's going to be tight coverage, and you can't get forced off your course. You can't get held up at the line of scrimmage. You have to be where you're supposed to be on time, and that takes repetitions with the quarterbacks. I think David has made progress there. I think Randall has made real progress there as well. And now the next step will be when we get to have the pads on and the defenders can be a little more aggressive against them. We'll see how they adjust. But I'm real pleased with all three of those guys and their development so far.
With David, there's natural comparisons to the Miami tight ends. There's Kelsey and there's Eifert. Is there a guy that he reminds you of?
He's probably a little more like Kelsey in that I think that he can be really dynamic after the catch. He has real acceleration, but David's his own man and will kind of etch out his own style here. But at Miami of Florida, he was a guy who was very dangerous post-catch, and we hope that can continue for us, certainly.
Because Seth was maybe not a true tight end in college, and played in the Ivy League and had such a curve. Was it more harmful the time he missed early last year because he had to catch up anyway?
Oh, I think any player that misses time, it hurts them physically. In his case, it wasn't that damaging from a learn the game point of view. He learns the game very quickly. He's got great aptitude for it. He's studious. So it hurt him, I think, in his physical development, certainly, but he understood the concepts of what we were going to do, very early on. So he recovered really, very quickly from that, yeah.
I know the learning curve is big for all rookies,
Yeah.
but is it even steeper with David because he's only 20, because he didn't start much in Miami?
Oh, I think that it's steeper for the guys that come out of the spread-oriented offenses because there's just so much more to learn. The game's so much more sophisticated. You start by being involved far more in pass protection, and then you multiply that by the number of defensive fronts and looks that you get, just the personnel groups with our own defense. We have 4-man lines, 3-man lines, 5-man lines, nickel, dime, quarter, and identifying who is now filling into which slot and whom I'm responsible for. Those are things that are a little bit foreign to them. Probably the run game's a little more complicated in the NFL than it is at the college level. In the pass game, he has a very solid understanding of how to run routes and recognizing coverage and getting open. So that transition, I think, will be pretty smooth for him. But the volume of it all, multiplied by the volume of the defenses, certainly makes it a little bit harder. Yeah, no doubt.
You guys didn't shy away last year from using all three of your tight ends at times.
No, I think that's
what
where
kind of matchup problems does that create?
I think it varies from week to week, but I think multiple tight ends in the game is right where the NFL game is now. There are just so many of these players available, as I said earlier, that are 6'4" to 6'6", and athletic and fast, and they can do so many things for you. They can block on the edge, they can run with the ball, they can protect, and they can catch the ball down the field. I don't think anybody would be shy about getting your better athletes out there, and good big athletes are a matchup problem.
Is it tough being so young in that room, especially when you had a guy like Gary for?
Well, I think that the guys that were here last year, Seth and Randall, benefited greatly from Gary's presence. Gary is a really good player and an even better person, and I think our guys learned quite a bit from him. I'm very fortunate in that in my room I've got some great young men, and they work well together. They're all attentive. They're all studious guys that are trying to, be the best they can be pretty quickly. So it's probably partly just the makeup of the room, but I'm not worried about that. Our room they'll know what to do, and they'll do it the best they can.
You had mentioned David in a variety of different ways, using him in different ways. Do you feel confident he'll be able to line up outside, maybe like a quasi-vertical?
I feel confident
Has to be seen.
I feel confident he has the ability to do those things, and he certainly has to show that he can do it on the field. But that's a lot better situation than if I had no confidence that he could do it. He's physically able to do it, and this will all get refined. In the springtime, you're putting in your whole offense. So the defense is kind of putting in their whole defense, and then as we get into game weeks, it gets streamlined. It gets condensed into game plans, and in a specific game plan, there would only be a few things that from week to week he would have to do. But if he puts the work in, which I believe that he will, there's no question how good he can be, because he's unusually talented from that standpoint.